everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hi, guys. My name is Joe.
So last week when Joe, well, I guess I should say last Monday when Joe was on the channel, was it Friday? Because you've been on 3 times. This is your 4th time in a row.
The last one we did, I think we did a video on no contact.
No contact, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. So we did a video on no contact, and Joe and I were taking a drive earlier, and we were talking about what we should do for tonight's video. We were talking about that last video, and it kind of led us into talking about, is narcissism a mental illness?
We were talking about comments, and somebody had left a comment, and we welcome all comments from all shapes and sizes and differences. And somebody had left a comment, somebody that doesn't know narcissism like the way we do, or maybe hasn't experienced it. Left something in you should forgive them. It's not their fault. It's a mental illness kind of deal. And we were talking about the mental illness thing, and God bless that lady. I'm glad that she never had to endure what we did.
Oh God, when somebody says something like that about narcissism, you know that they just don't know, and they have no idea how blessed they are.
Those are the suckers that they'll take advantage of and stab you in the back after they took everything. It doesn't matter if it's a mental illness or not. Childhood trauma, just like for codependence, it's no excuse to be an asshole.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing is wrong. That's why they hide it behind your back and lie. And it's not like they're insane.
Well, a mental illness doesn't mean that you have a free pass. I mean, imagine if I had even just something minor like a cold, and I go to work and I'm sneezing and coughing on everybody. That's me. That's my fault. That's my problem.
Yeah, and I'm a recovered alcoholic, and they didn't give me a pass when I got a DUI. I could have killed somebody. Thank God I was willing to accept the gift of sobriety. It was a miracle. There was a lot of work I had to do, a lot of work to stay out of the way, and a lot of work to I needed God's help, just like I needed God's help to get the hell out of this entanglement. I mean, going back to no contact, 99.9% of the mental health community, consisting of clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, say no contact is absolutely critical. Now, if you're not dealing, if you had Down syndrome, if you had schizophrenia, if you had cancer, if you had anything else, has there ever been a part of a remedy? It's because there's more work than just no contact, where the doctor would say absolutely no contact, unless it's a virus like COVID or whatever else is out there.
Yeah, but that's not a mental illness. So you're talking about any type of,
toxicity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's poison.
You cannot be around a narcissist and thrive in your life. Sometimes Joe will say that, the two of us have these higher end spectrum narcissists. I disagree with him on that. That's true. But
I believe it's on a spectrum.
It is on a spectrum. I agree. My but I think it doesn't matter how minor the narcissism is. If you're dealing with somebody who is a narcissist, it is going to end very poorly. There's nobody with a narcissist. You couldn't say, well, my narcissist isn't that bad, so we're going to live happily ever after. If you're with a narcissist, it's disaster, doom, despair, everything. It's just horrible.
It could be to the point where once you reach that point where it's considered a disorder, they're dangerous. There's levels, I guess. There's a F1 tornado to a F5. We had the F5 tornadoes, but neither here nor there. Yeah, there's definitely destruction.
So let me ask you, Joe, just to get into tonight's topic. Do you think, tonight's topic, by the way, is, are narcissists happy? So, Joe, what do you think? Are narcissists happy, or can they be happy?
They are the most miserable creatures that walk the face of this earth.
I agree with you 100%. Why do you say that?
Because my perspective has changed. When I did the last discard, but on all the discards, because we went through 20 years of this cycle, you're left with PMS, physically, mentally, and spiritually bankrupt. So, of course, when a narcissist is able to flip the switch, because they've been planning it all along anyways, it's going to appear with their facade that they're doing so much better than you, and you're the one that doesn't love yourself, and you're the one that can't generate any kind of self-dignity and self-respect. Of course, you just got hit by an F5 tornado.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all a facade. It's a lie.
A narcissist, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, a narcissist is, I'm going to loosely call them a person. This is a thing, a being, without empathy, without compassion. They're not able to love. So when we are devastated when something happens, just gutted. I mean, I can remember my ex so many times, you guys, he was charging up credit cards. Of course, you hear me so many times. Here I am in the cycle like Joe was talking about, around and around and around. Every time I believed it was going to be different. He was absolutely fine. Like, he wasn't up
Now,
at
are you
night.
sure he wasn't his mental illness, like it wasn't his fault, that like he
Oh,
somehow
yeah.
she somehow magically cheated on me like 4 times, and she's just a sex addict, she's powerless over everything, just give her a pass. It's all a bunch of hogwash.
I know, my ex is just trying to provide a nice home for our family.
He didn't lie and try to cover it up and hurry up
no.
and like get the mail so that you wouldn't see the credit card bills.
No,
nothing
he
like
didn't
that.
get a
He
P.O.
was
box so that
mentally
he
ill.
could have his credit card bills go there. No. It was a mental illness. Of
Yeah,
course.
the doctor said you leave him alone and you just shut up and be a good little codependent.
Yes, well, that's, want to know something? That's what my parents said. So you wonder how.
But that's coming from a narcissistic father and a codependent mother.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, and this is beyond the scope of that video, that's what happens to so many of us. So when we're at a point where we recognize narcissism, we recognize what this thing is, it is the biggest blessing in your life.
You're getting over the emotional thinking and start looking at it logically. So it's not, I had to recorrect myself. Who is she? It's not, it's what is she?
Yeah.
I actually had to dehumanize her in my head so I would remember, oh yeah, this is what she's about and this is what she's done. I was playing the tape all the way through. They operate on low frequencies. It's blame, toxic guilt, envy, false pride. Like, they're egomaniacs with inferiority complexes to a degree that I've never experienced in my life.
Well, they're in a way like a wild animal. Their life is all about trying to satisfy something that they don't have. They get like a wild animal, right? It gets, they say, we're talking
Food, clothing, shelter,
Yes,
and they
exactly.
need, we call it supply, but they need that like as a primary need, like
It is a
food,
primary
clothing.
need, yeah.
Or they'll go into mortification and it's just very, very ugly.
In a lot of ways, they're, I think, exactly like a drug addict. When they're looking for supply, it is literally like a drug addict needing to get their fix because they know they're going to go into withdrawal. That's what a narcissist does every single day, and we are the drug.
And it's vice versa too. It's like it's two sides of the same coin. Both stem from born out of childhood trauma, codependency, narcissism. The narcissistic relationship to the codependent is like a drug.
Yes.
They give you silent treatment, they go whatever, and you start to withdraw from that drug, and the chemicals, the serotonin levels, it's just messed up. The difference is that the empath, even in his lowest state, if they could follow the path to come to recovery and to come to God of their understanding, because at least in our experience, we're beyond human aid, is that it's no longer such like I need to be happy, joyous, and free every day, all day. It's more of a state of being. It's like serenity and peace. When I think of those words, I don't think of emotions. I think of a state of being that we can build through an inner relationship with God.
Well, I think, I agree with you, Joe. When you have the narcissist, they don't have a state of being.
They don't have a damn personality. They
Yes.
mimic
Yes.
people their whole lives. And so it's not their fault. Get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah, a narcissist.
That'll get you killed.
Well,
like
yes.
it's life or death, and that will get you killed. Like that kind of advice. And here's what I say: I've my dumb ass. I don't want to say it like that. I forgive myself, but I allowed this crap to happen. I had my own self-esteem and self-worth issues I learned from looking at my part in things. Well, if I can make fun of myself, then anything I got to say about a damn pathetic, spiteful, horrific human being, if that's what you want to call it, I'm going to freaking say it. And I'm going to laugh, and I'm going to make fun of him.
Yeah.
Because I make fun of myself, so I don't give a shit.
I'm 100% with you, Joe. You know that. So many people, they think, oh, we should feel bad for them, or it's not their fault. There is no way I can go near that. Joe and I, and it's not just that I'm bitter. I'm not bitter. I am happy and blessed to be free of this. But the hell we went through, the hell our children went through from somebody that knew what they were doing. And it's not that they just didn't care. They knew it was wrong to lie, cheat, steal, to abandon their kids. They knew that.
The rules don't apply to them.
No.
It's their ego.
And we're supposed to feel bad after we were the ones abused for 20 years?
Yeah, it's just, the way I see it now is just like, I forgive, Hopefully, with God's help and myself, I won't ever forget. I can't afford to forget because forgetting, I said it was life or death for me. It could get me into that.
It's life or death for anybody. You know, guys, and I'm not saying that all narcissists are violent, but you're dealing with somebody that doesn't have any compassion. You know, there are people in this world, like, I don't like to do this, like to kill bugs and stuff. You know, if I find a spider and things like that, I put it outside. You know, we were driving earlier, I was telling Joe to slow down because I thought he was going to hit a squirrel. And there's people like that, right? That's how I am. Then there's the narcissist. They literally,
we're gnats. We're
they hurt
expendable.
their kids.
It's expendable.
Hey, they hurt their kids. It's really
Well, you know, it's not that they'll find some way to be a victim from it, and there's no victims that I know of are happy, including yours truly, me, when I was at the early stages of recovering from narcissism after going no contact. That I said I wasn't a victim, but I was still like. The state of being I was in was still victimhood.
Well, I think it's difficult at that point
hell yeah.
because I'm like you. I don't want to consider myself a victim, but we were.
That's how I believe that they walk around with this darkness. That the stage that the empath is, and after the discard, how they're devastated like that, that's their vibes, their frequency all the time.
I think
whether they're aware of it or not is besides the
point. But they know
point.
what it feels like, and they're trying to avoid that at all costs.
The spiritual laws of karma, it doesn't matter whether you knew it or you didn't know it, you do something wrong, like it's going to come back and get you, whether you're aware that you did it wrong or not. Like, there's one thing to not mean anything, but they have bad intentions, man. Real bad intentions.
Oh yeah, they for them it's all about their need, and they'll get their need any way that they have to. They're cheating on you with 5-6 people, whatever.
They're not happy.
No. I agree.
And screw happiness. I don't want happiness. I want peace. I want serenity, man. I'm tired of all these extreme emotions. It's just crazy.
Well, I think though sometimes, and this is the person that I really feel for, because I can imagine being in this place where you're discarded by the narcissist. They're with their new supply, and they seem to have this great new life. And, you know, like, for example, you guys know that my kids had their friends from New Hampshire come and visit them. Well, one of their friends said that they saw my ex out to eat at Applebee's, and he was laughing, having a great time. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? He lost his whole family.
Remember what I told you, though, Sharon? After that little thing with Applebee's with the so-called friends that don't know who he really is, he's coming home to an abandoned house where his children and his pets and everybody was, and they left. You can't escape that. Like, there are going to be moments of clarity, even for the narcissist. They're running from that. So he's out with his friends or doing whatever the hell he wants to do because he doesn't want to be by himself, left alone in his own thoughts, because his mind's like a ghetto. It's a bad neighborhood, and he's in there by himself, and he's doing anything to escape that.
That's, I think, how it is for everybody. Wouldn't you agree? Like, what about Joe, the person who it seems like I just told you, like, my ex is out at Applebee's, like, having a great old time. What about somebody who's with their new supply and they're going on vacation, and here I am on Facebook, and yay, I'm so happy and smiling?
I vouch for this, and this is the truth. About 1.5 years ago, now my divorce went on for 2.5 years. It finally ended a couple weeks ago, thank God. About 1.5 years ago, this guy was trying to get a hold of me that she was messing around with, because I think her mom told me, she was living with us at the time, that she had stolen his credit card and said she was going to see her and the kids, and her mom was like, he talked to her mom and she didn't hear this. I was just like, after the work I've done and God saved me, I was just like, that poor sucker. I didn't talk to him. What the hell am I going to say? It wouldn't matter. Like, if I was a new supply and somebody was saying that to me, I would think that they were nuts, you know?
Well, that's a question people say. Like, should I tell the new supply?
No contact, man. Like, no contact. None. It's absolutely vital.
Yeah, we did a video on that recently. I agree. No contact is absolutely, hands down, what you must do to
Eventually,
be free.
hopefully.
Yes,
So the sooner the better, but eventually.
We get it, by the way. Like sometimes, like Joe and I have kids with a narcissist, but we can still do no contact. I do get it. There's
At
times
this
where you
point,
can't. Yeah.
and there's many, like at the beginning, I was still with her and I was learning about narcissism and
Yeah.
this and that, but I could tell you, like, I was doing experiments on her, like, okay, what happens if I stop the supply? What happens if I don't react? And like, it was all there.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because there's a playbook when it comes to a narcissist. They're all the same. They might be different variations, but just like it's the same for them, it's for us too. There's a road to recovery. And Joe and I actually are going to be doing some videos coming up on exactly how to get through this.
How we got through it.
How we got through
and
it.
we believe that you guys or whoever's struggling can get through it too.
Oh, 100%. I know you can. If Joe and I can, so can you. But the thing is, though, it's just like back to what I was saying. A narcissist, they're all the same. So we can kind of predict what they're going to do. And that ends up helping us because they're all the same.
This is the only way I finally knew her. Like for 20 years, I didn't know her.
No, isn't that freaky?
See, and we're talking about comorbid conditions. So mine was also a drug addict, and I was in recovery. And I was like, okay, so she relapsed, so it's not her fault that she slept with this dude or stole $10,000 at an account or this or that or blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize that for her personality disorder was the root cause and the drugs were just a symptom. I finally started to get it towards the end when I started researching narcissism. That's who she is.
Yes.
The playbook is who she is.
Exactly.
They don't have a personality.
Exactly. The narcissism is the person. Anything else, like my ex, he for him, he's an alcoholic, and I think he's happy to be an alcoholic because then he can blame everything on that. It was my drinking. It wasn't his credit cards. It wasn't him breaking into the house, scaring us, threatening us, trying to get me to jail, go to jail. No.
The way Sharon and I met was because I'm in recovery from alcohol and drugs, and like I was taught you take responsibility. Like I made some stupid ass dumb decisions that affected other people, and I was selfish and self-centered to an extreme. And I understood that was the root of my issues, driven by 100 forms of fear and delusion and all that crap. But he wasn't acting like that's somebody that was in active recovery, getting sober, would not use that as an excuse.
Well, even, I don't want to delve too far into this, but it made me think of it. So my ex doesn't have any relationship at all with our kids now, with the two children I had with him. And it's like he sends them these emails once a week. And
very robotic.
Yes. It's like he doesn't even send a new one. It just attached to the last one. Please respond. I miss you. Good Red Sox game. I'd like to show you that I've changed. And I'm sitting here telling Joe, my God, if he changed, we would know by his actions during the divorce. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a shame. And we're speaking of viruses. I've heard a saying before: in a world full of people wearing masks, it's a privilege to see a soul every once in a while. And little did I know, I found you, Sharon, and I found a community.
Yeah.
And then there are holidays coming up, Halloween. So, I laughed one time. I heard somebody say, and it was like, you look at a narcissist, because I was so intimidated by her because she was nuts, like antisocial personality
Well, that's the
disorder.
thing. Not all narcissists are dangerous, but you don't know which ones could be.
She was,
Oh,
like,
I know she was. Yeah.
She was a thug, and it was absolute chaos. I was so scared of her, and I heard it on I was doing some research, and a psychologist was talking about how they're like little children for Halloween. They're wearing a scary mask.
Yeah.
And then somebody took it off them. They thought they still had it on. And it's just like this little child trying to scare you. Like the no contact it'll draw the power from them. They get their power from you.
Well, if you're having contact with a narcissist, you can't recover the way that you need to because I don't know, it's like Joe said last week, or I guess the other video, that he's allergic to a narcissist like he is with poison ivy.
I think it's like hypoallergenic.
You can't have a little bit, or forget that. I'll just say, like, say you're pregnant. You're pregnant or you're not. Well, I'm a little bit
Or it's
pregnant.
like we joke about it, in recovery, and we're like, yeah, I think I'm going to go back to smoking crack, but I'm only going to do it socially. I'm just going to do it like with my friend every once in a while. It's just like, oh, come on, man, one hit. And remember what I said, like, it's an addiction to a certain degree on both levels. Like, it's complete abstinence from.
Well, the codependent and narcissist. Oh my Lord! I mean, it's for the narcissist. We are the perfect person.
Yeah,
for us,
they're drawn.
We ended up in hell somehow.
Yeah, they're drawn like a moth to a flame.
Yeah. Oh, just like us now. We just had a moth to the flame. But yeah, that's true. But we were talking, is a narcissist happy? No.
Hell no.
No.
It's all a facade, man. They are so fear-driven and just empty and overflowing with garbage that they have to find somebody else to regurgitate all that garbage into and draw some kind of existence from.
This is the truth. It's a harsh truth, but I really believe it's true. When the narcissist first got involved with us, they were getting narcissistic supply, right? They get narcissistic supply. They loved it. They needed that from us. As time goes on and we find out who they are, because it's exhausting for them to always have their mask on. So eventually what happens is that the narcissist, nobody else does. Eventually, when the relationship is over, the narcissist will get narcissistic supply back from you by making you miserable. And that's wonderful. Look what I did. Look at the power. I mean, imagine you're thinking to yourself, wow, I leveled that person. I did that. I'm special.
And they don't want to kill you. They want to leave you.
Oh, yeah.
They want to leave you just hanging on barely so that eventually you can rejuvenate and get your power back so they can come back and suck some more out of you.
Yeah, that's true. So
and if they do kill you, it's just like slapping a gnat on a table.
Well, it's like if you guys know Chris Watts. I mean, Chris Watts, in a lot of ways, I think that Shanann Watts saved my life, because when that story came out, that's when I knew my ex was a narcissist. He wasn't diagnosed, nothing at that point. I just knew, I recognized him. So you don't know who you're with when you're with a narcissist, but they all have the ability. You don't know what they're capable of. But when he killed his family, he doesn't care. Guys, he has pictures in his cell of his children and his wife that he murdered. And he says he talks to them and like they died in a car accident or something. He didn't actually physically remove them from this world.
I think it was like his only connection to normalcy or fitting in was pretending like to be a family person and a husband and a father.
He said something one time that struck me, and it kind of reminds me of my ex. A lot of things about Chris Watts reminds me of my ex, but he said one time that if he had lost his girls at the store, so he's grocery shopping and they somehow get away from him, he wouldn't panic. He's like, well, I'd try to find them, but it wouldn't really upset me. Can you imagine that? Imagine if you had a 3 and 4-year-old and you literally lost them. That happened to me before. My kids were in the house, but I thought they were outside and I couldn't find them. I was terror. And they're little kids, they're lost at the grocery store. I'd be like, oh my gosh, did somebody take them?
But honey, it's not his fault. He had a mental illness.
Oh my gosh, thank you for telling me that.
I still think they should have pled insanity and he would have won it all the way.
Yeah, it's okay, really, what he did, because it's not his fault.
We should, I do forgive the narcissist.
I forgive the narcissist, too, because I don't want to live with this, anger and hatred.
Yeah, there's a saying that resentment rots the container it sits in, and I believe in that. But my problem is that I forgot, and I would forget.
Well,
and I thought
you're
that that's
so
what I was
used to
supposed
that
to
because
do.
you do. Well, see, me too. Joe and I are going to do a video coming up. I'm not sure when, but somebody said this a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. And Joe and I both got stuck with this because we were married to narcissists, and we both took our wedding vows seriously. I believed it was my duty as a loving Christian. No, he's not a Christian, but I am. So I'm like, it's my duty as a loving Christian wife to forgive him. Yes.
I made a vow to God, too.
Like God wants me to forgive. And guys.
And it doesn't matter. It's like a life sentence, man. It was horrible.
Yes.
It's like, okay, maybe I'll have a heart attack and die. Maybe she'll have a drug overdose. But that was my only
My
out.
only out was my ex dying. That was it. That was my hope, guys. Like, here I am, this good Christian. Like, I'm gonna forgive him because it's my duty. I was praying Psalm 55, asking God to take him out for me.
Now, forget about all the sins that I do on a daily basis and this and that. For some reason, that was like something that God wouldn't forgive or wouldn't understand, and it almost killed me. Now, that coupled with my codependency, my low self-worth, my own childhood traumas, the no contact, going back to that, that's not the answer. It's just one of the very first steps that you take, and what you do while you're staying no contact is what matters.
There's a recovery process, and for anybody at the beginning or anybody who was discarded by the narcissist and you feel like life is over, this is horrible, I don't want to live, they've taken everything from me, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen at the end. We know the end is that you are going to feel so much better when you get through this recovery, and the way you look at the narcissist now, you will be repulsed. You will not think, oh, geez, I really wish that worked out.
You're going to say, thank God.
You're going to, yes, Joe and I, our situations were horrible, just nightmare from hell. Today, both of us, I mean, it was, thank God. Thank God. I mean, I've told Joe before, going through all that was worth it to have Joe and to have my new life. You'll feel that way too. That everything you had to go through will be worth it to have your new life.
Yeah, it's so to answer the question, you guys, are narcissists happy? No, man.
Nope.
Not even close.
They might pretend to be happy. You might see them on Facebook acting like they're so wonderful, no.
Let me tell you a little bit about a foreboding that happened to me about 3 or 4 years ago. My ex wanted to get another tattoo, and she told me, yeah, I was thinking about getting something on my forearm or something. Like, I think I'll keep pretending for a little while longer. And I didn't know about narcissism or anything like that. And afterwards, in hindsight, I was like, that witch.
You know, that almost seems to me like today I would think that's God, like telling you, like, but
God was like knocking on a door, like, hey, dummy, this and that.
Me too.
You know, I didn't. Still to this day, it's so important for me to have some kind of connection to God, because I don't always know what's good for me.
Well, Joe and I, we've mentioned before, we have the triangle. Like, our triangle, the triangle is everything to us, because if we stay in the triangle, which
Sharon,
is
Joe, and God.
Sharon, Joe, and God. So Joe and I are beneath God. So we're, on the bottom. God's up to the top. Joe and I, if we have any issues or we're upset, like whether at each other or individually, always we take it to God, always. And that is the difference. So even like in our relationship, it's God first, always God first. And that has changed everything. But we're able to listen to God now, because you're right. God was like, punching me in the face. And I'm like, what was that? Oh, I better forgive my ex again.
Yeah, and it was like, I gave you what you wanted, Joe. And I was like,
Yeah,
my God. But
yes.
I remember 2.5 years ago, in the same garage that we do our videos in, is when he released me. He that inner voice is, I never expected you to stay for 20 years. But yes, as a matter of fact, you take her back after this time. He's like, I'm washing my hands, you dumbass.
You know what? It's so funny, not funny, but when you just said that, I had a pivotal moment in my garage in Londonderry. Like, the garage is like, and it's so funny, we do the videos here. The night that, now, I have forgiven my ex for so many things. The last 6 months that he was living at the house, I called the police probably half a dozen times because he was such a problem. And of course, he still came back. That last night when we were together, he tried to get me arrested. He lied to the police, told them I threw him into a wall. And I was standing in my garage. So I was in the garage with some police officers. He was outside the garage talking to the police officers. I could hear him. And this is what he was saying. Yeah, and just she picked me up out of nowhere and just threw me into the wall, and I was stop, and she just kept doing it, and I was listening to that.
You guys, Sharon's so tiny and petite, and this buffoon, a 6'2", obese, like overweight, dumbass, like trying to convince a cop, because of course in his mind, like with narcissists, is it like the left side of the brain feeds the right side the lie, the right side buys it, and then he tells the mouth to spit it out. Like, so if he can convince himself, then everybody else should believe him. But there's been so many times where these nitwits, like, this is their motto: ready, fire, aim.
Yes,
Like,
guys, my ex is literally 3 times my size. So he was saying that I could lift him up, throw him into a wall with one hand because I was speaking with 911 on the other hand. I wasn't tired. I mean, I wasn't like breathing heavily. I must be superwoman.
the one word that comes out of my mind being narcissist is it must be exhausting. They are actors and actresses always trying to arrange the lights and the show and the rest of the players in the theater. And when people don't do what they want them to do, because everybody has their own self-will, is they become vindictive and a victim.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm a recovered alcoholic, and the root cause of my alcoholism was selfishness and self-centeredness. Okay, when I met this crazy bitch, like, this was to a level that there's another quirk I got. Like, the playbook is who they are, and there's a lot of people will be like, well, I do believe in spirituality and negative energy and even possession in many cases. But they use they all act the same, so they must be possessed by the same spirit. That doesn't make any sense to me, because, like, most illnesses have the same symptom. Where I think that many are demonically or just dark energy taking place is, look at the destruction they leave in their path.
Yeah.
It's like nothing I've ever experienced in my life.
There's no narcissist that doesn't have a trail of destruction behind them. And I was thinking when you were talking earlier, a narcissist in a way, if anyone has kids, you ever have a child, like a little kid, 3 years old, say, they're at the store, they want candy. No, you're not having the candy. And they start getting so mad, they're like having a little tiny tantrum.
Yeah.
That's like the narcissist, but they have the ability. Like, if I didn't let my little boy have candy, there's only so much he can do. I could literally pick him up and carry him out to the car. A narcissist they have a lot of power behind them.
I call Sharon's ex a man-child.
Yeah.
They're like little demon babies, like
Yes.
spoiled little shit toddlers. The thing that makes it dangerous is they have a loaded gun in their hand. Like, you give a baby $100 bill, it's going to be in pieces by the time you come back to see what he's doing. They don't know the difference between shit and ice cream. Like, you could give them a dime and they could hold it in their hand, they wouldn't know the difference.
Well, like Joe and I, was getting along, so we'll just say this. Like, and I know a lot of you are like this too. Being a good person is a very important part of our life. So, we try to be good to each other. We try to be good to our children. We try to be responsible with money and other animals and all that type of thing. That doesn't exist for a narcissist. For them, they are like a bull in a china shop, and they will just go towards that red flag or whatever, and that's all, red flag. And that's like all they care about.
The day of reckoning is coming for the narcissist, and we have seen the deflation of that balloon. We have seen what happens when you take away the supply. We have seen the mortification. It's like a drug addict without drugs.
Yes.
It's just very, very pitiful. You have to watch, though, because I picked mine up off the side of the road, and I thought it was like a cute little dog, and I took it home and I nurtured it and I tended it, and like before I knew it, man, it bit my ass.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And that was my thank you, and it was just. There's a story. It's about a frog and a scorpion. I told you before.
Oh, there's a story.
I'll wrap it up.
Too,
we'll wrap
like
it up.
with the snake and the farmer picking him up.
So the frog's by the riverbank, and a scorpion comes by and says, "Hey, buddy, can I get a lift over across the riverbank? I can't swim." And the frog is like, "Well, no, my parents taught me about you guys, and you'll sting me." And he said, "No, I won't. Why would I do that? You'll drown, and so will I, because I'll be in your back. I need to get back home to my family." And the frog, being the nice frog that he is, and the empathic frog that he is, he's like, "Okay, sure." Well, halfway across the river, what do you know? The scorpion stings the frog, and they both start drowning. And the frog was just like, "Why did you do that? We're both going to drown." He said, "I can't help it. It's just by nature."
Yeah. Not
That's
that we need to have compassion for them, but yeah, exactly. That's who they are.
the way that you have compassion or empathy for a narcissist is no contact.
Yes.
Because then you don't have to go into reactive abuse and maybe I shouldn't have called her this, or I shouldn't have kicked them in the nuts, or whatever the case is. Like, you could begin to have a chance to heal.
There's no life with a narcissist. So any of you who are thinking, oh, my narcissist, I'm miserable, I feel like I can't even move on, and my narcissist is so happy, and he's on Facebook, and look at him on Instagram, he's on another vacation. It's all fake.
They live at the rock bottom,
Yeah.
and it's fully furnished.
And they're using you. Like, if this is you, they're using you to get more supply from, because then they'll know, oh, she or he is going to see this, and it makes them feel good. It makes them feel good that they've destroyed somebody.
It's called, the German word for it is Schadenfreude.
Yeah, something like
which
that.
is they get off on other people's misery because they're miserable themselves. They don't believe that facade.
So really, the best thing to do is work towards your recovery, because once you're through it, at the beginning, sometimes I've said this to Joe before, I used to get these migraines a lot. And when I had the migraine, I would be so afraid because I heard that Thomas Jefferson had a migraine for 30 days. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to happen to me. Maybe it'll be 40 days, 50 days. You always think it's so bad when you're at the beginning, when you're in the most pain.
We think our worst nightmare come true, and it's important because at the time I had 2 boys, 2 cats, a dog, her mother living here, and I was just, CPTSD was kicking in. And you would tell me, well, Joe, worst case scenario is if you lose your job, you pick up a mop and go to McDonald's. And I would do that. I don't got nothing against people who work at McDonald's. My first job when I was 16 was at Burger King, 15 actually. I wanted to talk about one more thing, hypervigilance, where at the beginning of my recovery, it was like every minute, every half hour, every hour, I didn't know if I was going to lose my job, if she was going to steal, the car that I got that I just replaced because she stole the last one, if she was going to steal more money of our account and this and that. I believe that they live in a state of hypervigilance, constantly, unconsciously seeking supply. And that's a miserable existence.
Yeah, they don't have a life. It's just trying to get something.
They can't go to the park and be cool with nature or go to the gym or enjoy something on their own. They don't have that ability. The problem is that the empath, after the discard, doesn't either, and they think that that's a forever state, and it's not. It will pass if you do the work.
Yeah, that's true for anybody listening, and you're miserable. Really, it's going to get better.
There's a way out. There's a way out. There's certain things that you need to do.
Ultimately, this sounds weird for me to say, but it's the truth. Ultimately, this is the best thing that could have happened to you, because now you can live a life. I know you might be thinking, but I love him, I love her, I want to be with this person.
When you get honest with yourself, you're going to find out that you didn't even love yourself.
Exactly.
And because then you're going to start looking at yourself, and you're going to see how screwed up you are. Yeah. And this is just my experience. It doesn't mean everybody.
And it's not, that sounds horrible to say.
I don't mean it in a horrible way. What I'm saying is when I started looking at myself and said, well, what was my part in it? Well, I allowed myself to be abused for 20 years. My kids were in a bad environment because of it.
And Joe's saying that pretty black and white because he's through the recovery.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me. You will eventually realize these things.
And then I realized I didn't love her. And that was coming from an empath, I believe I know what love is.
Yeah.
And I was true and I had good intentions.
Well, you couldn't love this person because they don't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist, first off. And second off, I was sleeping with my wallet underneath my bed every night, and she cheated on me. I don't even like people like that. I don't even associate with people like that, let alone love. And when I got to that point in recovery, I was like, I better take a look at myself, man.
Yeah.
The narcissist is no longer the problem. The problem is between my ears.
And that's really the secret to recovery. And we'll have more to say about that.
That's the turning point.
Yeah, it is. So thank you guys so much. I don't know if Joe will be
special guest though next Monday.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, so Joe might be here. Who knows? Wednesday, Friday, we don't know. But next Monday, so if you're still listening, kudos to you. Give us a thumbs up in the comments. Paris is going to be on. So our daughter Paris, who's my biological daughter, but Joe and I raised her together, She's going to be on the channel, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it was her idea, too.
Paris is awesome, you guys. Living with Paris, I always wanted a daughter, too. I got 2 boys. I love my boys, but man, that kid's got her shit together.
Yeah, she's awesome. So stay tuned for that, and I hope everybody has a great week. I will see you Wednesday, maybe with Joe, maybe not.
Yeah, I have my schedule's off now. I'm doing some side jobs right now and applying for jobs, but we're okay right now. And I think this is kind of my time to grow and build a foundation with God still. So yeah, I'll be here next Wednesday, next Monday.
And maybe Wednesday,
willing.
who knows?
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I know this is a long one. Joe and I are little chatterboxes, so I'll see you on Wednesday. I hope you have a great week. God bless you.
God bless you guys.